Jin Yu-sung, head of the surgical team, maintains focus despite the chaotic emergency room. Every second matters for this patient. The patient's vitals continue to drop. The severe blood loss demands immediate intervention to stabilize his weakening condition. Yu-sung directs the team to prepare for a transfusion, knowing time is critical to prevent further deterioration. As they proceed, the patient's heart rate fluctuates dangerously. The infection worsens, threatening his fragile state. Yu-sung readies himself, prepared to perform CPR if necessary. His hands remain steady as the urgency escalates. The monitor flatlines and the weight of the situation sinks in. Yu-sung's heart races, but he refuses to give up. The team anxiously waits for instructions, but the reality sets in as the patient shows no signs of recovery. Yu-sung removes his gloves, feeling the gravity of losing someone under his care. Silence fills the room. In the waiting area, the patient's mother pleads desperately for hope. Her face reflects unbearable grief. Yu-sung listens quietly, unable to promise a miracle. The burden of helplessness sits heavily on his shoulders. Memories of past surgeries flood Yu-sung's mind. He silently wishes he could change the outcome this time. The mother's words echo, urging him to save her son. Yu-sung feels the weight of responsibility deep in his chest. At 22:49, the official declaration of death pierces through the silence. The room feels colder than before. The cause is determined. Complications from an untreated infection led to severe blood loss and brain death. In the hallway, the mother mourns quietly, clinging to hope that fate may someday offer her peace. Yu-sung glances at the patient's mother, her silent tears reflecting years of hope. The burden lingers on his shoulders. As Yu-sung steps back, the monitors suddenly flicker. A faint sign of life pulls him back to the operating table. The surgical team quickly regains focus. Yu-sung commands everyone to resume their positions and monitor the patient's vitals. The infection spreads dangerously. Yu-sung instructs the team to extract any remaining fragments, causing further complications. With swift precision, Yu-sung leads the team through delicate procedures, hoping to reverse the patient's critical condition. A faint pulse emerges, reigniting hope. Yu-sung knows the battle isn't over, but clings to this fragile chance. The team questions if continuing is safe, but Yu-sung insists, believing that survival is still possible with immediate action. Yu-sung recalls similar moments, driven by his dedication to saving lives, even in seemingly hopeless situations. As the surgery progresses, doubts fade. The patient's vitals stabilize, and the room is filled with cautious optimism. A feeling of relief washes over the team as the pulse returns steadily. Yu-sung's unwavering belief shifts the course of fate. Hours later, the surgery concludes successfully. Yu-sung steps outside, the weight of the night finally easing. In the quiet hospital courtyard, he takes a moment to breathe, sipping coffee under the glow of the night sky. Reflecting on the evening, Yu-sung knows his break won't last long. The cycle of emergencies never seems to end. His leave of absence feels distant now. The hospital remains his second home, bound by responsibility and duty. Gazing at the stars, Yu-sung acknowledges the intensity of his life, yet feels pride in the path he has chosen. Known as the Hands of God, Yu-sung carried the title that made him a beacon of hope in the hospital. Saving lives became second nature, and the satisfaction of making a difference was his driving force each day. The admiration he once cherished gradually turned into overwhelming pressure from endless patients and expectations. The VIPs treated him like a tool, exploiting his skills for personal gain while ignoring his exhaustion. Despite his skill, Yu-sung felt like nothing more than a machine, constantly running without rest or recognition. Over time, the isolation grew. Colleagues distanced themselves either from jealousy or fear of not measuring up. Yu-sung found himself alone, the outcast among doctors, left to shoulder the weight of countless surgeries. While others left, Yu-sung stayed, driven by his sense of duty, though the strain left little time for himself. He chuckled bitterly, realizing that despite the wealth his talent brought, he never had time to enjoy it. Sipping coffee under hospital lights, he quietly accepted that this lifetime may offer no rest for someone like him. Planning to unwind with a cold drink at home, Yu-sung steps out into the night, longing for peace. As he waits for the light to change, the flashing ambulance lights tug at his thoughts, stirring buried memories. In that moment, visions of past surgeries flood his mind. Patients' faces and scalpel cuts flash like a movie reel. The burden never fades, haunting him with every life lost or barely saved. The operating room remains ever present. As his briefcase slips from his hand, Yu-sung wonders why he carries the weight of countless lives alone. Yu-sung wakes up to the sound of birds, sunlight streaming through a window that feels unfamiliar yet comforting. The cottage before him isn't the city apartment he remembers. Confusion sets in as distant voices call his name. He wonders how he survived. The last memory he recalls is the accident, but his body feels unscathed. Staring at his hands, the realization dawns. His scars are gone, replaced by the small, delicate hands of a child. A woman's voice brightens as she calls out to him. The warmth in her tone leaves Yu-sung speechless. The cheerful strangers greet him like family. A woman gently holds his face, examining him as if he were precious. Yu-sung feels lost in their affection, unable to piece together why he's here or why they seem so familiar. Flashes of the accident replay, and panic begins to rise. He vividly recalls the crash and the bleeding. Yet there's no pain. The warmth of the strangers draws him back, leaving him questioning reality itself. How can he be alive, and why does it feel like this is where he's meant to be? A child in the woman's arms mirrors his own features. Yu-sung's gaze lingers, realizing the impossible truth. The reflection he sees isn't that of a grown man, but a small child staring back with wide eyes. He pieces it together. Somehow he's been reborn into this strange, peaceful family as their youngest son. The father panics at a small scratch on Yu-sung's hand, rushing to summon a priest for healing. Yu-sung can't help but laugh. It's a scratch, but their love and worry wrap around him like a shield. Ray confidently offers to treat himself, surprising his parents. His calm demeanor feels unusual for someone so young. As Ray considers the situation, he wonders if the woman knows about medicine. Her reaction hints at deeper knowledge. The warmth in his mother's eyes gives Ray reassurance. This world may rely more on magic than traditional treatment. A glowing light radiates from his hand, flowing over the wound. The sensation feels familiar yet entirely foreign. The wound disappears instantly, leaving Ray astonished. This power surpasses any medicine he's ever known. It's something entirely magical. The faint glow around Ray's hand fades as the treatment completes. The word magic lingers in his mind with curiosity. Ray inspects his healed hand, almost missing the sensation as the light disappears. The unfamiliar warmth leaves him puzzled. His mother beams proudly, assuring him that magic works wonders in this world, reinforcing his growing suspicion of rebirth. As the realization settles in, Ray acknowledges the truth. He's no longer in his old world. A new life begins here. The stars gleamed quietly over the small house where Ray lay in his crib, staring at the ceiling in silence. Despite his infant body, Ray's mind was wide awake, haunted by the vivid memories of his past life as Gang Yuk. 3 months had passed since he opened his eyes in this unfamiliar world, still trying to grasp his new reality. The differences between this magical world and his previous one became more apparent with each passing day. Monsters and strange creatures existed here, far removed from the structured life he once led as a doctor. In this world, monsters attacked without hesitation, leaving villages vulnerable and people desperate to grow stronger. Fighters and healers trained relentlessly, dedicating their lives to survival and the protection of their communities. Ray noticed how highly healing magic was valued, standing in stark contrast to the medical science he once practiced. Whenever his wounds healed through magic, Ray reflected on how different this was from the surgeries and treatments he once performed. The realization hit him. This wasn't a fleeting dream. His knowledge and memories gave him an unusual advantage here. Ray often thought about the accident that led to his reincarnation, wondering if exhaustion would have eventually taken him. Since fate had given him this second chance, Ray felt determined to make the most of his new life. The calm night around him offered peace, but questions about this world's mysteries kept him alert. A soft breeze rustled the leaves of a plant by his crib, grounding him in the reality of his new existence. As the moonlight gently filled the room, Ray's eyes grew heavy, and he finally drifted into a restful sleep. Ray sat quietly, feeling the vast flow of mana around him, its gentle hum resonating within his core. As he concentrated, the sensation of mana filled him, almost as if it had always been part of him. He wondered if this was how others saw mana, or if his perception was different from the norm. It wasn't just energy. Ray saw patterns like circuits flowing endlessly through the air. He began to picture mana like a bloodstream, allowing it to course naturally rather than controlling every drop. A spark ignited in his hand, flickering with warmth as he finally succeeded in casting a fire spell. Ray grinned, the flame dancing between his fingers, marking his first real progress after years of effort. It had taken 3 long years, but the feeling of accomplishment was worth every moment spent practicing. The knowledge of mana's pathways became clearer, guiding him toward mastering more spells. Ray flipped through his notes, eager to learn more, knowing there were still many possibilities to explore. Despite his progress, Ray couldn't shake the thought that storing mana felt inefficient compared to letting it flow freely. His eyes narrowed as he traced the diagrams in his notebook, questioning the logic behind traditional methods. Why contain mana when it could naturally circulate and replenish without limits? Ray imagined a different path, one where mana flowed without restrictions, creating stronger and faster spells. With newfound determination, he decided to pursue this theory, convinced that it could lead to breakthroughs in magic. Ray sat in the library, engrossed in his book, contemplating a dangerous yet intriguing method to channel mana. Though unconventional, Ray believed trying this approach could lead to significant breakthroughs in his magic studies. Flames flickered in his hand as he tested the theory, surprised by how quickly the results materialized. His excitement grew, but he knew the technique was uncharted territory, requiring careful practice and control. Nearby family members debated Ray's future. Some saw him as a mage, while others pushed him towards swordsmanship. The debate over Ray's path continued, each side passionately arguing whether he should train as a magician or a swordsman. Ray listened quietly, knowing that regardless of their opinions, his interest lay in unraveling the secrets of mana. His family's pride in his abilities was clear, but their concerns over his obsession with books grew louder. Ray's father wondered aloud if his son spent too much time reading instead of socializing or playing outside. Despite the concern, Ray remained focused. He believed knowledge held the key to unlocking greater potential. Ray closed the book with determination, feeling that his current knowledge wasn't enough to perfect the mana flow. He resolved to create a flawless path for mana, refining his control to push past any obstacles. Outside the library, his mother's voice echoed, searching for him as he lost track of time. Ray's mother sighed in relief upon finding him deep in study once again, amused by his relentless focus. As Ray returned to his books, he felt more certain than ever. This was the path he was meant to follow. Ray's mother watched him fondly, proud of his dedication but concerned he rarely interacted with children his age. As she thought about it, Ray looked up from his book, sensing her gaze and curiosity. The idea of playing with his mother surprised him, but he wondered if it involved learning magic. He smiled, convinced she might be testing his abilities in disguise, eager to impress her. The thought excited him, as he hoped to gain new insights while spending time with her. Ray's excitement grew as he agreed to play, expecting a lesson, but his mother's tight hug left him puzzled. She held him close, cherishing the moment more than Ray understood, her affection overwhelming. As she led him outside, Ray glanced around, confused by the lack of books or training tools. Standing at the doorway, he hesitated, unsure why they were leaving without any study materials. His mother smiled, explaining there was no need for books today. They were simply going outside to enjoy the day. Ray felt torn between his desire to study and the unfamiliar idea of playing outside. He expressed hesitation, suggesting he could stay and continue his magical studies instead. His mother laughed, both proud and exasperated by his dedication, gently encouraging him to take a break. As he considered her words, Ray realized he had never truly explored the world since reincarnating. With his book still in hand, he agreed to step outside, curious yet uncertain about what awaited him. Ray stepped outside for the first time, squinting in the sunlight, unsure of what to expect from the world. As he gazed around, Ray realized he knew little about the outside, having spent years studying indoors. His mother's gentle encouragement finally convinced him to embrace the day. Ray's curiosity grew, and he decided to set his books aside for now and explore. The warm breeze carried the sounds of life around him, sparking a sense of wonder he hadn't felt before. Ray wandered through town, marveling at the bustling windmills and golden fields surrounding his home. For the first time, he understood how much he had limited himself by staying inside. His mother watched as Ray paused, lost in thought, reflecting on the time he had spent in isolation. She gently urged him to explore further, wanting him to experience the world beyond books. With a nod, Ray took his first steps beyond the familiar, eager to see more. Ray's walk turned into a run, laughter escaping his lips as the freedom of open space filled his heart. The sky stretched endlessly above, and Ray felt a sense of excitement he hadn't known he was missing. He raced across the hills, chasing the wind, and taking in the vast landscape around him. Ray's eyes sparkled with joy as he climbed a hilltop, feeling a new appreciation for the world. As he stood there, overlooking the forests and lakes below, Ray knew this was just the beginning of his journey. Ray stood in awe, the vast sky stretching endlessly before him as his mother followed closely behind, smiling gently. Memories from his past life surfaced, hours of exhaustion, surgeries, and endless struggles in the cold, sterile hospital halls. The weight of responsibility once crushed him, pushing him to endure while other interns fell apart under the pressure. Ray had fought hard to survive, but he never felt the warmth of truly living beyond the hospital walls. As the breeze swept by, Ray turned to his mother with soft eyes, realizing this world offered something more. Gratefulness filled his heart as he smiled brightly, thanking his mother for giving him this rare moment of peace. Jin Yu-sung rushes through the hospital as another emergency arrives, exhaustion heavy in his eyes, but driven by duty. His life revolves around surgeries, endless calls for help, and the pressure that never seems to wane or let him rest. Sleepless nights become routine, and he wonders if there's ever an end to this relentless cycle of saving others. As Jin collapses, the pain in his chest blurs his surroundings. A soft voice pleads faintly in the distance. Awakening suddenly, Ray jolts upright in a strange yet peaceful room, realizing his previous life was just a dream. Ray blinks, adjusting to the warm sunlight filtering through the window, recalling memories of a distant, more exhausting life. The peaceful village scenery outside reassures him. He was reborn here, far from the chaotic world he once knew. Determined, Ray promises himself not to live the same overworked life that drained him before. This time will be different. His heart feels lighter as he steps out into the village streets, the past slowly becoming a distant memory. For the first time, Ray feels hope, a chance to shape a life full of joy and balance, not sacrifice. Ray returns home to the warm smiles of his family, their presence grounding him in this new world he now cherishes. His father greets him with affection, and Ray feels grateful for the sense of belonging he rarely experienced before. Memories resurface, but Ray shakes them off. This life is new, and he'll live it with no regrets. Turning to his mother, Ray's eyes sparkle with excitement. He has a request, a desire burning within him. With hopeful eyes, Ray pleads to his mother, eager to learn magic and start forging a path in this unfamiliar world. Ray's parents laugh, unable to resist his eager request, finding his excitement for learning magic too charming to deny. His mother's warm smile reassures Ray, promising to guide him patiently through the basics whenever he's ready to learn. Ray beams with joy, his heart racing. No matter how often they smile at him, their love always feels new. His mother's voice lifts with enthusiasm as she prepares to demonstrate, drawing mana to her fingertips for a simple spell. Flames swirl to life as Ray watches in awe, the sight of magic igniting a deep longing to master it himself. Ray stares silently, captivated by the beauty of his mother's fire spell, feeling closer to his goal than ever before. His wide-eyed expression amuses his mother, who delights in the wonder glowing on his face with every spark of magic. Ray's enthusiasm bubbles over as he points at the flickering flame, unable to contain his excitement about learning more. His mother chuckles softly, realizing Ray has grown used to this spell. She decides to explain things more thoroughly next. Ray settles beside her, eager to listen and learn, feeling that this time will be different. He will truly succeed. Ray's mother begins explaining the principles of magic, carefully guiding him through the basics of transforming mana into form. She highlights the importance of intent and trigger words, reminding him that visualization plays a crucial role in spellcasting. A small flame flickers to life again, reinforcing her words as Ray nods, absorbing every bit of information she offers. Ray suddenly interrupts with a question, curiosity blooming. He wonders if there are other methods to shape mana. His mother pauses, her expression shifting thoughtfully, as she considers how to explain the deeper, more complex paths of magic. Ray tilts his head, trying to explain his thoughts, comparing mana control to something as simple as creating fire through friction. He visualizes gathering mana, likening it to collecting fuel for a flame, simplifying the process step by step. With a spark of excitement, Ray demonstrates his idea, a small flame flickering to life just as he imagined. His mother watches, impressed by his unconventional thinking, but warns that without stability, the mana will scatter. Ray's question leaves his mother stunned. His natural curiosity leads to complex questions beyond the usual beginner level. His mother pauses thoughtfully, realizing Ray's insight isn't far-fetched. She admits that combining steps could theoretically stabilize mana. Ray's eyes light up at the possibility, his mind already racing with ideas, eager to test his theory immediately. With a warm laugh, his mother agrees but reminds him that theory and practice often differ greatly when it comes to magic. Ray contemplates the next step, sensing that stabilizing mana could unlock new ways to refine his skills even faster. The thought lingers as he gazes at his hands, wondering if the simplicity of his idea could lead to greater potential. Ray focuses, imagining the process as his mother described. With a flick of his hand, he channels mana effortlessly. The spell surges to life, brighter and more intense than before, shocking both Ray and his mother with its strength. Flames burst outward, swirling around Ray as he laughs joyfully, thrilled to see his theory manifest so vividly. His father rushes in, startled by the sudden explosion of light, demanding to know what just happened. Ray's mother blinks in disbelief, unable to explain. The results defied expectations, leaving them both speechless but proud. Ray senses something strange, feeling mana naturally flow around him, a sensation he can't recall experiencing before. His mother explains how mana typically fades after casting, yet Ray's surroundings feel untouched by that rule. Despite being told he's sensitive to mana, even his mother can't detect the shift he's feeling right now. Ray's mind races as he begins viewing mana differently, like an extension of his senses guiding him naturally. As Ray sits quietly, his mother watches in awe, questioning the extent of his abilities and the nature of his talent. Overwhelmed by pride, Ray's mother laughs nervously, masking her astonishment at the speed of his magical growth. Ray beams with pride, seeing his magic as proof of his talent, completely unaware of how rare his ability is. His parents cheer, showering him with praise, but his mother worries quietly, sensing the deeper implications of his potential. That evening, under the stars, Ray lies awake, feeling a weight he doesn't fully understand resting on his shoulders. The realization dawns: his talent, while exciting, could bring attention that might change his peaceful life forever. In hushed voices, Ray's parents discuss his future, fearing the academy might seek him out far too soon. His father suggests keeping his talent hidden, worried that Ray could be taken away if noticed by the wrong people. From his room, Ray overhears the conversation, unsure of what the academy represents but sensing the concern in their tone. As he gazes at the ceiling, Ray wonders if being a genius is truly a blessing or something far more dangerous. The thought lingers: his gifts may set him on a path far different from the peaceful life he's come to cherish. Ray clenches his fist tightly, realizing strength is necessary to protect his peaceful life and avoid being taken away. Lying awake, Ray feels the weight of his decision. His desire to learn magic transforms into a pursuit of absolute power. The morning sun filters through the trees, and the gentle chirping of birds signals the start of a new day. Ray's room is filled with soft light, reflecting his quiet and peaceful surroundings. Yet his thoughts linger on unfinished work. Books and scrolls remain scattered across his desk, a reminder of his late-night studies into healing and ancient magic. Ray wakes slowly, eyes adjusting to the light as he stretches, wondering how long he had been asleep. The realization of how much time has passed strikes him. With no clear sense of time indoors, days blend together. Ray decides it's time to step outside and take a break. A little fresh air could clear his mind. At 15, Ray's dedication to his studies has advanced his skills far beyond his peers, setting him apart. Ray's natural affinity for magic allows him to learn at an incredible pace, surpassing expectations through rigorous self-study. Countless hours of absorbing mana have changed his body. His hair, once dark, has turned pure white over time. His passion for magical research pushes him forward, driven by the desire to heal others and challenge the unknown. As Ray prepares to leave, he notices his reflection. The white hair is a symbol of his progress and sacrifices. He remembers an essential book and quickly grabs it, knowing the knowledge within could be crucial for future encounters. Ray acknowledges his uncertainty. Despite all his learning, he knows the real test will come from helping those in need. Determined, he glances at the phrase scribbled on the table, a reminder of his purpose to heal the sick. Before heading out, Ray practices one last fire spell. The flame roars to life, reflecting his growing strength and resolve. Ray channels mana into his magic, the elements swirling around him as he practices spells with sharp focus and control. A burst of ice forms midair, shimmering as Ray carefully shapes the spell, his concentration unwavering through the process. Flames ignite in his other hand, creating a contrast of fire and ice as his powers harmonize naturally within him. Ray steps back, satisfied with the balance between his elements. His skills have grown steadily, reflecting his intense dedication. With a bright smile, Ray decides it's finally time to head out and share his abilities with the outside world. Ray sets up a small stand in the bustling town square, choosing a spot where people pass frequently and gather. Despite his confidence, standing in public with a sign feels awkward. Ray adjusts his clothes, hoping no one notices his nerves. He calls out to passing villagers, offering free healing to anyone unwell. His words echo slightly, but few stop to listen. Children giggle nearby, amused by his efforts, while others watch curiously but hesitate to approach the unfamiliar healer. A passerby dismisses Ray, urging him to stop pretending. The crowd murmurs, but Ray holds his ground, unwilling to give up. Ray sighs as rejection sinks in, but he's not surprised. Convincing skeptical villagers was never going to be easy. Accepting the challenge, Ray brushes it off with a grin, reminding himself that persistence is key to earning trust. As the day drags on, Ray waits patiently, but no one approaches his stand, reinforcing the doubts already lingering in his mind. With the sun setting, Ray acknowledges defeat for the day, ready to pack up and reflect on how to improve. Just as Ray prepares to leave, a shadow falls over his stand. Someone approaches, sparking a glimmer of hope. Ray looks up at the approaching figure, surprised by the sudden question about his ability to heal any illness. His curiosity grows as the girl steps closer, her expression serious, making him wonder about the nature of her request. Ray feels a rush of excitement, Could this finally be his first real patient after waiting all day in town? The girl presses for answers, skeptical yet desperate. Ray raises his hands nervously, insisting he needs to examine the patient first. Her doubt shows through as she crosses her arms, clearly expecting disappointment. Ray can sense her lack of faith in him. Ray winces at her cutting words. It wasn't the first time someone questioned his abilities because of his young appearance. Frustrated, Ray snaps back, refusing to let the insult slide. Confidence radiates as he declares his skills. His fiery response makes her hesitate, but she remains unconvinced. Her doubtful gaze lingers on him, unimpressed by his boldness. Ray's determination grows stronger. No illness is beyond his reach, and he won't let her underestimate him any longer. Despite his confidence, the girl quietly dismisses him in her mind, still seeing him as nothing more than a child. Ray feels something strange, an odd sense of familiarity that he can't quite place as the girl prepares to speak again. The girl finally softens, offering a formal introduction. Her name is Gade von Alicia, daughter of Viscount Gade. Ray is taken aback by her noble status, but he quickly masks his surprise with a cheerful smile, brushing it off. Gade's composed demeanor slips slightly, confused by Ray's casual reaction. She wonders if he fully grasps the weight of her title. Ray reassures her with an easygoing tone, suggesting they speak plainly. Formality isn't necessary for him to offer help. Gade reveals the patient she mentioned earlier as her father, Viscount Gade. Ray listens carefully, realizing the seriousness of the situation. Ray's expression shifts to concern as she describes her father's symptoms: red skin, swelling, and a lump that grew rapidly. The symptoms spark a thought in Ray's mind. His medical knowledge hints it could be a malignant tumor or severe inflammation. Without hesitation, Ray urges they go immediately, knowing every second matters when dealing with life-threatening conditions. Despite his urgency, Ray can't shake the feeling that the condition may have progressed too far, leaving little hope. Ray and Gade rush toward the estate as the sun dips below the horizon, their pace quickening with each step. The noble house stands tall in the fading light. Ray feels the weight of the moment as they approach the entrance. A butler greets them frantically, his worried tone unsettling. Gade demands to know her father's condition. The butler's somber expression deepens. He hesitates before breaking the news. Viscount Gade has already passed away. Gade stands frozen, unable to accept his words. Her mind races, refusing to believe what she just heard. Panic sets in as Gade sprints inside, calling for her father. Ray follows closely, heart heavy with uncertainty. Her voice echoes through the grand halls, the reality sinking deeper with each unanswered call. Gade bursts into the room, tears streaming as she lays eyes on her father's lifeless body in bed. Viscount Gade's stillness is undeniable. Gade collapses at his bedside, desperately hoping for a response. Ray watches silently, feeling helpless. Despite all his knowledge and power, he arrived too late to save him. Ray kneels beside Viscount Gade's bed, gently asking permission to examine the body despite the grim atmosphere in the room. As he checks the body, faint traces of dark mana linger, curling ominously like shadows refusing to let go. The source of the corruption reveals itself, an ominous dark growth pulsing faintly with sinister energy deep within the chest. Ray concentrates, sensing the weak yet lingering mana. The condition isn't entirely hopeless, but time is slipping away rapidly. Turning to Gade, Ray's eyes brighten with determination. He assures her that there's still a chance to save her father. Gade watches silently as Ray prepares. Hope flickers faintly in her eyes, though fear still lingers in her heart. Ray places his hand over Viscount Gade, gathering mana slowly. The room remains quiet, filled with uncertainty and tension. Tears gather in Gade's eyes as she pleads softly, entrusting her father's life fully into Ray's hands. Ray's confidence never wavers. His calm smile reassures Gade, as if success is the only possible outcome in his mind. With a bright and cheerful tone, Ray promises to handle everything. His unwavering belief leaves no room for doubt. The hall is filled with whispers as Ray enters, drawing attention with his calm but commanding presence beside Belka. Curious gazes linger on Ray, wondering how someone so young exudes such confidence in a noble gathering. A knight grows frustrated, demanding answers as Ray approaches with steady steps, ignoring the tension rising around him. Ray remains unbothered, his focus fixed on the task ahead. His medical instincts override any doubt from onlookers. As tension peaks, Ray calmly assesses the situation, silently preparing to handle what others deem impossible. Ray channels mana into his hand, forming a glowing scalpel. The sight alone shocks those witnessing his strange methods. Gasps fill the room as the blade flickers to life. Ray's actions challenge everything they know about healing. The knight instinctively reacts, accusing Ray of recklessness, his hand reaching toward his sword in disbelief. Ray doesn't flinch, explaining his methods in a calm yet firm tone. Doubt and distrust fill the knight's eyes. Smiling faintly, Ray offers to stop, fully aware his expertise stands apart. The knight hesitates, torn between trust and suspicion. Nadam interjects, urging calm. Despite his loyalty, even he struggles to trust Ray's unconventional methods. Ray offers a brief nod, understanding Nadam's hesitation, but pressing forward without further persuasion. The knight grits his teeth but steps aside reluctantly, recognizing Nadam's quiet authority. Ray begins the procedure, noting the strange pus emerging from the wound. His brows furrow as realization dawns. Peering deeper, Ray confirms his suspicion. This isn't an ordinary affliction, it's something far more dangerous. Ray narrows his eyes, recognizing the faint discoloration on the skin, an unmistakable sign of poison spreading through the body. Channeling his mana, Ray carefully manipulates the glowing scalpel, his focus sharpening as he prepares to begin the procedure. The magical energy pulses around his hands as he signals to start, aware that precision will be crucial for success. With a deep breath, Ray reminds himself to first remove the parts beyond saving, knowing hesitation could cost the patient's life. The scalpel's edge gleams, cutting through corrupted flesh. Ray works swiftly, ensuring no trace of the poison lingers behind. Ray glances at the spreading rot, his hands steady despite the onlookers' anxious stares. He senses their doubt but remains unfazed. The knight watches closely, but his fingers twitch nervously at the sight of Ray cutting so deeply without hesitation. A faint groan escapes the patient, confirming Ray's suspicion. The toxins aren't limited to the surface but have reached deeper organs. Ray's eyes harden. This wasn't just poison, something far more sinister had taken hold within the patient's body. Despite the grim discovery, Ray presses forward, determined to handle the procedure alone and finish what he started. Ray intensifies his mana, cleansing the deeper layers. The rotted tissue disintegrates as the mana carefully reshapes the damaged areas. Realizing the extent of decay, Ray adjusts his approach, cutting wider to ensure no infected tissue remains untouched. The procedure demands complete focus, but Ray's swift hands leave no room for error as the worst of the poison is removed. Ray begins stitching the wound with mana, sealing it carefully while restoring circulation to the affected parts. As Ray finishes, murmurs echo around the room, impressed by the strange but undeniable results of his advanced techniques. One of the nobles watches in awe, his words trailing off as Ray's precise technique leaves him speechless. Ray's hands move swiftly, his mana guiding the operation with fluidity that feels almost second nature to him. Each motion is deliberate, as if he's conducting an intricate performance, weaving life back into the patient's body. The mana threads glow as Ray carefully ties the final pieces, ensuring nothing is left unfinished. To the observers, Ray resembles an artist, his mastery over healing more like crafting life itself. As the procedure progresses, a noble mutters in disbelief, likening Ray's skill to that of a divine figure. The tension shifts to quiet hope as the possibility of survival feels closer than before. Even the most skeptical attendees begin to wonder if they're witnessing something beyond ordinary medical practice. Ray takes a deep breath, sensing the procedure nearing completion, though his focus remains unwavering. With steady resolve, Ray reassures himself. Just a little more effort is needed to save the patient's life. Ray gently places his hands over the patient's chest, channeling mana to restart circulation and stimulate the heart. The glow from his fingertips pulses, mimicking the rhythmic compression of advanced medical techniques from his past life. Slowly, the heart begins to react, faint but growing stronger under Ray's persistent effort. Ray's mana intensifies, aiding the heart in recovering its full function as life returns to the patient. A heartbeat echoes through the silence, signaling success. Relief washes over Ray as his job finally nears completion. Ray's face lights up with relief as the patient's heartbeat stabilizes, confirming the success of the surgery. He proudly announces the good news, expecting cheers, but the stunned silence from the crowd catches him off guard. The knight's eyes narrow suspiciously, unable to comprehend how the patient survived such an ordeal. As realization dawns, Ray notices the issue. Blood began circulating too quickly, causing unexpected bleeding. Despite the success, Ray acknowledges the sudden complications that have left everyone in disbelief. The knight erupts in anger, accusing Ray of fraud, his distrust boiling over as he points furiously at the bloodied patient. Ray raises his hands, nervously attempting to explain the unexpected side effect of reviving someone in such critical condition. The knight's accusations grow louder, but Ray stays calm, reminding him that the patient is alive and breathing. Despite the tension, Ray knows the procedure was a success, but the blood-stained sight unsettles the onlookers. The knight demands answers, struggling to reconcile the impossible reality unfolding before him. Ray tries to explain, but his calm demeanor only fuels the knight's frustration over the unorthodox treatment. The noblewoman steps forward, her voice trembling as she recalls Ray's promise to save the patient's life. Her trust wavers as she confronts Ray, torn between gratitude and fear of what she's witnessed. Ray hesitates, sensing the weight of her words, knowing any misstep could cost the trust he's worked to build. Despite the doubt, Ray remains steadfast, confident the patient's survival will eventually prove his methods right. The noblewoman trembles, tears welling up as she accuses Ray, believing her father's worsening state is his fault. Ray calmly insists the patient is healed, urging her to verify it for herself before making any assumptions. Frustration bubbles within Ray as he questions why his medical expertise is being treated like a crime. A knight suddenly brandishes his sword, threatening Ray, his anger fueled by misunderstanding and distrust. The knight's accusations grow louder, claiming Ray's actions have disrespected the nobleman's body beyond forgiveness. Ray lowers his gaze, silently absorbing the weight of their hostility, knowing his efforts have been misinterpreted. He pauses, reflecting on how much effort went into saving the nobleman, only to receive scorn instead of gratitude. With a quiet sigh, Ray's frustration surfaces as he laments the lack of appreciation for his actions. His voice sharpens as he questions the accusations, refusing to accept the title of con artist without protest. Ray's eyes narrow, his patience finally wearing thin as he warns them. They've misjudged him for the last time. Ray notices the lingering tension in the room, sensing distrust despite his successful treatment. He stands calm but watchful. The patient stabilizes under Ray's care, though the atmosphere remains tense. He explains the results, standing firm in his assessment. Ray assures them once more, emphasizing the recovery process will take time. His words reflect confidence, though skepticism lingers. He suggests patience, requesting they wait until further improvement. His calm tone contrasts with the unease growing around him. As Ray turns, suspicion brews. The commander's lingering doubts spark hostility, and he's not ready to let Ray leave yet. The commander's frustration explodes as he lunges at Ray, seeing his composed demeanor as arrogance. His attack is swift but reckless. Ray, unfazed, raises his hand and conjures a barrier, halting the blade in midair. Magic radiates from his palm. The barrier shimmers, forcing the commander's weapon back. Shock spreads among the soldiers, witnessing Ray's effortless defense. The commander stumbles, confusion evident. Ray's mastery of magic is unexpected, raising further questions about his true abilities. Soldiers panic as the commander falls. Ray's expression sharpens, and his unwavering gaze holds their attention, keeping the room silent. One soldier yells, urging the others to attack before Ray can unleash more magic. Fear fuels their desperate charge. Ray stands firm, activating another spell midair. His control over multiple forms of magic astonishes the watching soldiers. Chains of energy burst forth, ensnaring the soldiers. They cry out, unable to break free from the magical hold Ray exerts. The commander's disbelief grows. Dual magic at Ray's age is unheard of, raising doubts about the stranger's true identity. Ray lowers his hand, dismissing the spell. The soldiers remain cautious, but Ray's quiet confidence leaves them hesitant to retaliate. Ray steadies his hand, magic flickering softly. He warns them, hinting at the danger of testing his patience further. Soldiers hesitate, unsure whether to advance. Ray's calm yet firm stance leaves them second-guessing their decisions. His gaze sharpens as he reinforces the final warning. The tension in the air thickens, pressing heavily on the soldiers. Night falls and Ray reflects under the stars. His belief in medicine's power keeps him going despite the resistance. Ray walks forward, accepting that this world may never understand him. Still, he presses on, unwilling to give up. Ray recalls the first patient he treated in this unfamiliar world. The memory reminds him of his initial struggles. He fiddles with a vial, lost in thought. His medical skills feel out of place in this land of magic. A familiar voice calls him, breaking his train of thought. A warm but firm presence stands in the doorway. His sister stands with her arms crossed, disappointed by his lateness. Her scolding feels oddly grounding to Ray. She demands to know why he missed curfew. Ray shifts nervously, realizing how much time he's lost in thought. Ray sighs, accepting the scolding. Even with his experience, he's still adjusting to this world's expectations and rhythms. As the night deepens, the Viscount's estate stirs uneasily. The events of the day ripple through the household. Uncertainty lingers in the air, leaving servants whispering about Ray's abilities. They question who he truly is. Within the grand hall, the Viscount's child anxiously seeks answers. Confusion over Ray's identity grows stronger among the nobles. The Viscount awakens, startled by distant voices. Concern flickers across his face as he processes the rumors circulating the estate. Gasps echo through the room as the Viscount awakens. The guards stare in disbelief, unable to process what they see. One guard steps forward, his voice trembling as he announces the Viscount's revival. Suspicion mixes with awe across their faces. The commander questions how such a thing is possible. Eyes dart nervously, searching for answers that seem out of reach. Doubt lingers, but the Viscount's presence cannot be denied. The once lifeless figure now sits up, causing hushed murmurs. A soldier's frustration surfaces, recalling Ray's words. His anger boils, seeing himself tricked by someone he considered beneath him. The noblewoman closes her eyes, reflecting on her misjudgment. Guilt washes over her, and regret takes hold. The lavish room feels heavier as the noblewoman contemplates the consequences. She knows the family's honor is at stake. With a heavy heart, she instructs the guards to find Ray immediately. Their actions must be corrected swiftly. The soldier hesitates, anxiety evident. He wasn't prepared for such responsibility. His mind races, yet orders are absolute. The air grows tense as he recalls the faint traces of Ray's magic, lingering like a subtle reminder of his mistake. The noblewoman issues a direct order, urging the guard to seek forgiveness from Ray. Reluctantly, he nods in agreement. Curiosity sparks among the onlookers. Whispers fill the hall as they question Ray's nature. His abilities seem almost divine. A servant suggests Ray might be a saint, though doubt lingers. Magic and sainthood rarely intersect in this world. They ponder the possibility in silence. The Viscount's recovery speaks louder than their skepticism, leaving room for wonder. The Viscount's peaceful expression confirms the miracle. For now, uncertainty fades, replaced by quiet acceptance of Ray's extraordinary gift. A guard questions if only a saint could perform such a miraculous feat, confusion lingering in his tone. An image of divine beings flashes in his mind. The room grows quiet as they ponder the nature of a saint. Saints, revered as God's vessels, are rare in this world. Their existence is shrouded in mystery and awe. The thought lingers. Could Ray truly be one? The soldiers exchange glances, but skepticism remains etched in their expressions. The noblewoman frowns, recalling no records of such a figure. Yet the Viscount's recovery speaks louder than doubts. A noblewoman wonders if Ray could be a saint yet undiscovered, planting a seed of hope among the guards. The soldiers recall the incurable nature of the Viscount's condition, realizing even the high priest had failed to heal him. Tension rises as they reflect on Ray's intervention. The commander begins to feel the weight of his earlier hostility. Regret floods the room, but the noblewoman insists the fault lies with everyone present. They all watched in silence. She suggests they seek Ray out and apologize, hoping to mend the damage caused by their distrust. The Viscount's voice echoes down the hall, demanding answers. His stern tone signals his frustration at the unfolding situation. His daughter nervously explains Ray's involvement, unsure of how to frame the miracle that saved him. The Viscount processes her words, slowly realizing the true weight of the saint-like figure who cured him. His gaze sharpens, questioning the guards about their treatment of Ray. His displeasure is evident. The Viscount's frustration grows as he learns of their disrespect, demanding answers from the bewildered soldiers. The Viscount's stern voice echoed as he ordered a full search, demanding Ray be found at any cost immediately. His command reverberated through the mansion, leaving no room for hesitation. Guards scattered, understanding the urgency in his tone. Ray, far from the commotion, felt a chill. He couldn't shake the feeling that someone was speaking about him. The sunlit path ahead seemed peaceful, but Ray knew today's lesson wouldn't be easy. Nature quietly watched over him. Luna cheered him on with a bright smile, encouraging him to try his healing spell again. Ray nodded determinedly. Mana flowed around Ray as he concentrated, hands raised, trying to cast a basic healing spell under Luna's watchful gaze. His attempt fizzled, and Ray felt the magic slip from his fingertips. Confused, he stared at his hand in frustration. Luna chuckled at his failure, her teasing laughter making Ray's cheeks flush. She found his persistence endearing despite the mistakes. Ray switched tactics, attempting a fire spell instead. A small flame flickered to life, surprising him with unexpected success. Luna clapped excitedly as light danced around Ray's fingertips, her approval giving him the confidence to continue practicing. Emboldened, Ray called out a healing spell again, energy crackling as he channeled more mana into his hands. The spell faded before reaching completion, and Ray stumbled back slightly, puzzled at his repeated failures to heal. Luna grinned knowingly, ready to explain. Ray braced himself for another lecture, realizing he needed to understand mana flow better. Luna patiently explained that healing spells required mana to enhance a target's vitality, simplifying the concept for Ray. Ray listened carefully, nodding as Luna broke down the process. He appreciated her ability to explain things clearly. She demonstrated how to layer mana over a target by visualizing the magic's path, showing him step by step. Ray focused and mimicked her actions, determined to get it right this time. The mana flickered, showing slight improvement. A rustling in the nearby bushes interrupted their session, drawing Luna's attention. Ray glanced over, sensing something unusual. A deer emerged from the woods, limping with a noticeable wound on its leg. Luna pointed it out immediately. The injury looked severe, and Ray couldn't help but feel sympathy for the creature's pain as Luna assessed the damage. Luna suggested Ray try healing the deer, turning this into another opportunity for him to practice his healing magic. Ray hesitated, unsure about healing an animal. Luna's insistence, however, made him reconsider the value of real-world practice. Luna encouraged Ray to approach carefully, reminding him not to startle the deer. Ray suspected she found the situation amusing. Ray slowly stepped toward the deer, hands raised cautiously as he tried not to alarm the already nervous animal. The deer flinched and began to back away as Ray's footsteps crunched softly against the forest floor. With a sudden leap, the deer dashed off, forcing Ray to abandon subtlety as Luna shouted for him to follow. Ray groaned, questioning why he had to chase the deer. Despite the reluctance, he hurried after it. Luna's laughter echoed behind him, clearly entertained by Ray's predicament as he ran after the fleeing animal. As Ray chased the deer, he reflected on how magic here felt more intuitive but difficult compared to modern medicine. The deer led him deeper into the woods, dodging trees with ease while Ray struggled to keep up. Ray's hand glowed faintly with mana as he prepared to cast, though doubt lingered about whether it would work. His thoughts drifted to the people of this world, who seemed to misunderstand or fear his modern medical approach. While Ray pondered, the deer pressed on, and he realized this pursuit mirrored his efforts to prove himself to others. Ray lunged forward, managing to catch the deer with a pulse of mana before it could escape into the woods. Despite its injured leg, the deer moved surprisingly fast, making Ray wonder how severe the injury truly was. Gently, Ray knelt beside the exhausted creature, stroking its side to calm it as he prepared to cast his spell. Mana flickered in his palm, but Ray reminded himself this wasn't just about magic. This was about healing with precision. With renewed focus, Ray poured his energy into the spell, determined to succeed as Luna observed silently from behind. Luna sensed the shift in Ray's energy, watching intently as his mana grew denser, signaling a stronger healing attempt. Ray gritted his teeth, knowing this wasn't just about healing. It was about proving his worth and his identity as a doctor. The surge of magic spread across the deer's leg, light wrapping around the wound as Ray pushed his limits further. A loud, piercing cry erupted from the deer as the healing spell completed, sending Ray stumbling backward in surprise. The forest fell silent as the magic faded. Ray stared nervously, hoping his efforts wouldn't result in unintended consequences. Ray's heart sank when the deer suddenly collapsed. He exchanged a wide-eyed glance with Luna, panic slowly creeping in. The deer let out one last cry before going limp, leaving Ray shocked and Luna looking equally perplexed. Ray couldn't believe it. Despite everything, the creature had died. His mind raced, replaying the steps he had taken. Luna mused aloud about mana layering and vitality, but Ray only half listened, frustration clouding his thoughts. Ray clenched his fist, vowing silently that next time he'd find a way to balance magic and medical knowledge more effectively. Ray questioned why healing magic eluded him when others seemed to master it with ease. His frustration grew silently. As Ray pondered, Luna observed him thoughtfully, sensing the weight of his self-doubt over his inability to heal. Ray wondered if his unique mana vessels were the source of his difficulties, something he hadn't fully understood yet. In his mind, Ray imagined attempting to heal someone, envisioning scenarios where even simple injuries felt overwhelming. He recalled past failures, where well-meaning attempts left him feeling more like a threat than a healer. Accepting his limits, Ray decided to avoid healing magic altogether, fearing the risk of harming others unintentionally. The thought of losing someone due to his inexperience weighed heavily, driving him further from his healing aspirations. Time passed quietly as Ray's thoughts drifted during dinner, unsure of his path while Luna watched with concern. A warm meal brought temporary comfort, but Ray couldn't shake the feeling of failure from earlier in the day. Luna's attempt to lighten the mood barely registered with Ray, his mind preoccupied with doubt and lingering frustration. Ray's father laughed heartily at the news of his son's struggles, turning the dinner into light-hearted teasing. Luna's giggles didn't help as Ray sat quietly, his embarrassment growing under the playful ridicule of his family. Frustrated, Ray vowed loudly to give up healing magic altogether, storming out before anyone could stop him. The house settled into silence as night approached. Meanwhile, Ray stared at the sky, vowing to forge a new path. Far beyond his small home, the Holy Empire's capital loomed, its statues and power standing as reminders of the world's vastness. Light cascaded down the grand hall as the Pope knelt before the radiant statue of Attia, his heart trembling with reverence. His voice quivered as he whispered, sensing a divine presence. He wondered if the goddess was truly reaching out to him. The statue's gaze seemed to pierce through him, and he questioned if this was a sacred message meant to guide his path. A vision of a white-haired figure formed in the light. The words echoed, "Find the saint," sparking a new quest. Soldiers marched through the forest, whispers spreading among them about the appearance of a new saint with divine blessings. Rumors about the young saint reached the knights, stirring curiosity as they continue their journey toward the capital. The knights reflect on the rarity of such events, realizing another saint's emergence could reshape the balance of power. Discussions continue about the saint's age, but faith in divine choice reassures them during their march. Their destination, the Holy Empire's capital, grows closer. The soldiers know this mission will mark a pivotal moment in history. The Pope kneels in prayer, gratitude overwhelming him as he receives the long-awaited answer from the divine presence. His heart races as he listens carefully, awaiting further instructions from the sacred statue that speaks to him. The message is simple: seek out the white-haired saint in Scylla. His destiny intertwines with the future of the empire. The Pope questions the simplicity of the command, but he knows better than to doubt divine will. Contemplating the challenge ahead, he realizes finding this saint in a land full of white-haired citizens may not be simple. The divine voice echoes once more, revealing the saint is just 15, narrowing the search considerably. Determined, the Pope rises to his feet, instructing his subordinates to carry out the holy mission without delay. Urgency fills the air as the Pope calls upon Iron, one of his trusted aides, to prepare for the journey. Aaron appears ready to serve, understanding the gravity of the Pope's request. A saint must be found at all costs. The Pope sends Aaron to gather a delegation, dispatching them to Scylla immediately to secure the future of the empire. The Pope's revelation about a new saint spreads quickly. His heart races as he realizes the significance of this divine message. Far from the empire, Ray continues his studies, unaware of the growing attention his existence is attracting. In the village clinic, Ray assists with medical duties, balancing sword training in his spare time to strengthen his resolve. His mentor casually suggests learning swordsmanship more seriously, sensing Ray's potential extends beyond just healing. Ray considers the idea, drawn to the thought of honing his skills further as strange visions flicker at the back of his mind. Ray's decision to learn swordsmanship surprises his mentor, but he eagerly prepares for his first lesson with wooden practice swords. They begin training under the open sky. Ray focuses hard, matching his mentor's pace with determination and curiosity. A clash of swords echoes as Ray quickly adapts, showing natural skill that impresses his mentor despite his inexperience. Ray's quick improvement sparks excitement, but the training becomes increasingly intense, leaving Ray slightly overwhelmed by the physical strain. Despite the challenge, Ray presses forward, driven by the desire to protect those around him in more ways than one. Ray reflects mid-battle, realizing simple sparring won't elevate his skills fast enough. He decides to step up his effort. His eyes narrow with focus as he grips the sword tighter, sensing the importance of surpassing his current limits. His mentor pauses, noticing the sudden shift in Ray's expression. Something about the air around him changes. Ray stands firm, adjusting his stance, silently preparing to launch a more serious strike. His mentor watches closely, curious to see how far Ray's potential will take him in the heat of their duel. Ray channels energy into his sword, a faint glow signaling his shift in strategy. His mentor watches in surprise. The unexpected appearance of sword aura shocks his mentor, as Ray's latent potential begins to surface during the spar. The sparring match intensifies, Ray's newfound technique driving him to press forward with increased confidence and control. His mentor grins, recognizing Ray's rapid progress, but knowing he can't hold back if the match continues like this. Ray pushes harder, feeling the flow of power stabilize. However, he knows prolonging the match might cost him victory. Realizing Ray's growth, his mentor taps into his own aura, igniting a golden blaze around his sword to counter Ray's advance. The clash of auras electrifies the air. Ray, caught off guard, tries to recalibrate his approach as their blades collide. His mentor's overwhelming strength forces Ray onto the defensive, the intensity pushing him closer to his limit. Ray steadies himself, watching closely for an opening as his mentor's blade shines brighter, signaling the next move. A decisive blow from his mentor knocks Ray back, but the match isn't over yet. Ray prepares to strike again. Ray stumbles but regains his footing, lunging forward with renewed determination. The battle draws the attention of nearby villagers. The spar ends as Ray falls, exhausted but satisfied with his progress. His mentor nods approvingly, impressed by his resilience. After the match, Ray rests while his mentor laughs, knowing this is only the beginning of Ray's growth. Elsewhere, news of Ray's abilities begins to spread. The guild notices unusual activity around the village and takes interest. On the streets, rumors circulate about someone matching Ray's description. It seems his peaceful days might be numbered. A hooded figure quietly observes the bustling streets, blending into the crowd while carefully monitoring the movements around him. He walks calmly, listening closely to murmurs from nearby mercenaries discussing the search for a boy with white hair. Two men frustratedly exchange glances, realizing they found nothing despite days of searching the city for the mysterious boy. The men complain about the overwhelming task of identifying someone by age and hair alone, feeling the pressure build. As they speak, the hooded figure pauses, locking eyes with them for a brief moment before continuing his path unnoticed. The hooded man approaches the mercenaries, his voice cutting through their complaints as he demands updates on the search. The mercenaries sigh, explaining the near-impossible nature of the task. They express frustration at the lack of results. His eyes narrow in irritation. The hooded man clenches his teeth, clearly dissatisfied with their incompetence. The air around him grows heavy as his frustration boils over. His anger echoes through the room with a forceful outburst. In a dark chamber, the Viscount listens quietly, unimpressed by the excuses. His words carry weight, reminding them of the boy's importance. The Viscount's voice trembles with urgency. He warns of disaster if the Holy Empire learns they've mistreated someone chosen as a saint. His frustration peaks, shouting orders to locate the boy immediately, fearing repercussions that could bring ruin to their entire household. Desperation sets in. He pleads for results, offering any price necessary, convinced that failure could jeopardize his family's future. A shadowed figure smirks, stepping forward confidently. Hearing the promise of wealth, he accepts the job without hesitation, eager for reward. Ray winced as he examined his injured hand, the pain radiating through his fingers after a simple task went wrong. The nearby villager noticed his injury, apologizing with concern, but Ray dismissed it with a calm nod, saying it wasn't serious. A startled woman rushed over, her eyes widening at Ray's injury, alarmed by the sight of his swollen, bruised hand. Her voice trembled as she assessed the injury, exclaiming that his bones looked dislocated, worrying over the extent of the damage. Ray reassured her with a steady gaze, confident that magic or modern methods could handle it, offering to treat himself. A faint glow surrounded Ray's hand as he channeled his healing magic, focusing on repairing the internal damage he sensed. The healing energy enveloped him and the woman beside him, casting a comforting warmth over the injury as it mended slowly. She watched in awe as the injury vanished, Ray's hand appearing whole again, free from the swelling and pain moments before. With disbelief, she examined his hand, marveling at how perfectly healed it was, astonished by the flawless recovery. The villager recalled Ray's previous failed attempts, puzzled by how he succeeded this time, sensing something different about him. Ray quietly sat with the woman as they shared a meal, his mind lingering on the strange success of his healing magic. He pondered his abilities, realizing his recent treatments felt more effective, even beyond the ordinary limits of healing magic. The woman's curiosity grew, prompting her to ask if something had changed in him, noticing his hesitation in answering. After a moment's pause, Ray admitted to himself that he might not be like the others around him, his powers evolving unexpectedly. Deep down, Ray acknowledged the truth. He felt different, his abilities surpassing normal expectations, hinting at something far greater. Ray sat quietly as the couple reassured him, their warm smiles reminding him that no matter his abilities, they cared deeply. Despite the lighthearted atmosphere, Ray felt the weight of responsibility, sensing his powers might distance him from ordinary people. The couple's words lingered. Family support mattered most, regardless of his healing skills or the expectations placed upon him. Ray smiled faintly, appreciating their unconditional acceptance, though he knew his abilities continued to evolve in ways they didn't fully understand. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Ray reflected on his journey ahead, determined to master his unique gifts. Ray pondered by the window, realizing magic alone couldn't sustain his goal. Saving lives required more than spells and raw mana. Memories of past failures resurfaced, driving him to seek practical methods to treat those ordinary healing magic couldn't reach. Understanding that pure mana held risks, Ray vowed to refine his control, aware that careless healing could harm the weak. The family's pride in Ray's talents contrasted with his internal doubt. He needed a solution that balanced magic and medicine. His gaze hardened. To become the healer he envisioned, Ray had to rethink his approach, blending knowledge from two worlds. Determined, Ray stepped away, driven to gather hands-on experience, knowing theoretical knowledge wouldn't suffice for real-world healing. His parents watched with concern, sensing his resolve but unsure of the path he aimed to follow next. Ray reassured them with a casual tone, masking the seriousness of his intention to bridge gaps between magic and modern medicine. As Ray prepared to leave, his father issued playful warnings while his mother's gaze lingered longer, full of unspoken trust. Walking away, Ray silently promised to return stronger, ready to heal not just through magic but with practical skill. Ray left town determined to find answers, his mind occupied with thoughts of improving his healing techniques and medical skills. As he arrived in Barlow, the bustling town's size surprised him, larger and livelier than he had anticipated. Curious adventurers approached Ray and his companion, asking about a boy matching Ray's appearance, white hair and striking blue eyes. The adventurer's description mirrored Ray perfectly, though he chose to remain silent, unsure of their true intentions. The search for him seemed unusual, raising suspicions in Ray's mind as he pondered who could be behind the inquiry. The sketch shown by the adventurers was crude, drawing chuckles, but Ray felt uneasy knowing it resembled him too closely. Tensions rose as the adventurers pressed for answers, clearly invested in finding Ray or someone similar in appearance. As Ray quietly observed, he sensed unrest in the town, wondering if recent changes had triggered more guards and patrols. Before he could gather more information, someone urgently whispered to him about the Viscounty, piquing his curiosity. The mention of the Viscounty made Ray uneasy. Something significant was happening, and somehow it felt connected to him. A mysterious man discussed the heavy investment made to locate Ray, hinting at unknown forces seeking him for unknown reasons. Ray overheard the conversation, wondering why such attention was focused on him, or if someone else shared his appearance. The pieces slowly connected. Ray felt he couldn't dismiss this as coincidence, sensing that someone important sought him deliberately. As realization dawned, Ray froze. Was the Viscounty itself involved in this search, or was he mistaken about their interest? Before Ray could slip away, he felt eyes on him. The adventurer's gaze shifted his way, sensing something familiar. Ray felt the adventurer's piercing gaze, his heart racing as the man silently compared him to the description in hand. The tension thickened as Ray nervously laughed, realizing there was no point in denying what was already obvious. The adventurer's eyes widened with recognition. Ray's appearance was an exact match. Without hesitation, he announced Ray's discovery to the guild. Ray raised a brow as the man grinned, claiming he wasn't a stranger but someone from the Information Guild. Knowing resistance was futile, Ray decided to follow, curious about why the Viscounty had taken such interest in him. As they walked, Ray questioned the adventurer about the Viscounty's motives, but his answers felt vague and incomplete. The man promised to arrange transport, suggesting Ray check on a patient during the visit, piquing Ray's curiosity further. A carriage soon arrived, and Ray agreed to ride along, though suspicion lingered about the true purpose behind the trip. As the journey began, Ray glanced out the window, wondering if someone from the Viscounty had fallen gravely ill. The adventurer's awkward response hinted at something deeper. Ray felt the familiar tug of an unknown responsibility approaching. Upon arrival, Ray's suspicions flared. A crowd gathered, and whispers filled the air, building an unsettling anticipation. As Ray stepped out, a collective gasp echoed. Citizens murmured about a saint, their eyes locked on him in awe. The adventurer smirked, realizing Ray's confusion. The people bowed deeply, addressing him with reverence Ray hadn't anticipated. Ray froze as realization struck. Somehow he had been mistaken for a saint, and the entire Viscounty believed it. With disbelief, Ray tried to process the situation. His skills were unmatched, but could he truly be seen as a saint? Ray sits calmly, but internally he feels the weight of expectation. He prepares to speak, knowing his words might disappoint. With a sigh, Ray admits he's not the saint they seek. The lavish banquet before him feels undeserved. The head of the household reacts passionately, unwilling to accept Ray's humility, convinced his actions prove otherwise. Gratefulness overwhelms the man as he recalls how Ray's medical expertise saved his family from the brink of death. He insists that someone capable of such miracles must be a saint, no matter how much Ray denies it. Ray feels flustered by the emotional outburst, struggling to explain that he simply did what he could as a healer. As the conversation lingers, one of the family members timidly addresses Ray, expressing deep appreciation for saving their lives. The matron of the family acknowledges Ray's contribution and directs her daughter, Alicia, to formally express gratitude. Alicia approaches gracefully, her demeanor composed as she thanks Ray, fully aware of the miracle he performed. Ray is caught off guard by Alicia's poise and sincerity, leaving him speechless as memories of past encounters surface. Ray teases Alicia, reminding her that she had questioned why he was brought to their home in the first place. Alicia stumbles over her words, clearly embarrassed by the sudden reminder as her father watches sternly. Her father reprimands her, emphasizing the importance of recognizing and apologizing for any rudeness she might have shown. Ray chuckles at the family dynamic, feeling amused by how seriously they treat the matter of apology and respect. Despite Ray's insistence that it was merely a joke, the father pushes Alicia to formally seek forgiveness, reinforcing his lessons. Ray feels overwhelmed as everyone treats him like a savior. Despite his protests, they continue to see him as one. He reflects on the situation, recalling how he clearly explained he wasn't a saint, yet no one believes otherwise. His thoughts shift, realizing someone had accompanied him. Ray wonders why that person is suddenly missing from sight. A servant informs Ray that the person he seeks left hastily, leaving Ray curious and slightly concerned. Meanwhile, the mysterious figure rushes away, awed by Ray's abilities and questioning if he truly is a saint. A shadowy figure watches from afar, sensing an opportunity. He views Ray's presence as something valuable to exploit. With a sly grin, the man rushes off, eager to relay the information, knowing this might lead to personal gain. Ray, oblivious to the lurking schemes, sips tea and hopes everything remains calm for once in his new life. The atmosphere softens as the hosts ensure Ray's comfort, pleased that he enjoys their hospitality and the meal provided. Grateful for the attention, Ray acknowledges their effort, unaware of the swirling plans developing outside the manor's peaceful setting. Ray jokes with the host, appreciating the delicious tea, feeling there couldn't be a better way to spend the afternoon. The host chuckles, pleased, but hints that Ray's days of relaxation might soon end, catching Ray slightly off guard. Confused by the comment, Ray presses for clarification, sensing there's more the host isn't revealing yet. The host casually mentions that an envoy from the Holy Empire has arrived, ready to escort Ray to his next duty. As Ray processes this, the realization sinks in. His peaceful days are numbered, and the world's demands continue to follow him. Ray panics upon learning an envoy is on the way. He wonders how his presence was even noticed by the Holy Empire. The host calmly explains that news of Ray's deeds has spread, and countless letters have arrived, requesting his aid. Ray grows frustrated, questioning the nature of the messages that created such urgency around his name. The Holy Empire, it turns out, uses communication magic to relay important requests directly to saints across the land. Ray recalls stories of saints receiving divine messages. The weight of expectation begins to settle heavily on his shoulders. With dread in his heart, Ray asks what fate awaits him. His host cheerfully informs him he's bound for the Holy Empire. Ray's anxiety spikes as the reality sets in. He's being whisked away to fulfill duties he never signed up for. Later, as the household prepares for rest, they note Ray's absence from common areas, assuming he needs solitude. Ray remains isolated in his room, restless from the weight of the situation. Even sleep offers no escape. As he lies in bed, a faint magical message flickers to life. The words Holy Empire echo persistently in his mind. Late at night, Ray tosses and turns. The constant call of duty prevents him from fully relaxing. Beneath the moonlit sky, Ray laments his inability to live the peaceful second life he originally hoped for. The following day, Cilia Castle stands proudly under the morning sun, unaware of Ray's internal conflict. Whispers circulate through the castle halls. Curiosity grows around the identity of the guest staying in the secluded quarters. As rumors spread, some servants speculate that the guest might be the long-awaited saint, stirring excitement within the castle walls. Castle servants gossip about a mysterious guest, describing long hair and striking pink diamond-like eyes that captivate attention. The rumors of beauty and elegance spread, igniting curiosity among staff eager to witness the enigmatic figure firsthand. A woman with flowing hair walks gracefully, her aura commanding silent admiration as she heads toward the guest quarters. Servants linger, whispering about her presence, hopeful for even a fleeting glance at someone so extraordinary. She pauses at a door, softly asking for permission to enter, her voice calm yet filled with quiet authority. A gentle response invites her inside. She steps forward, acknowledging the summons with polite formality. Time draws near for the grand feast. The woman reflects on the continuous demands placed upon her, suppressing a sigh. A servant nervously requests her presence at the hall once she's ready, bowing respectfully before leaving. She agrees, offering a brief nod, understanding the importance of the gathering despite her personal reluctance. As the servant turns to leave, she contemplates the event ahead, knowing her appearance will stir further intrigue. The woman stands confidently, her radiant dress shimmering under the golden light. Her title as a saintess precedes her arrival. She questions the status of an important matter, her tone indicating she's been awaiting crucial news. A servant eagerly shares uplifting information, his excitement palpable as he delivers the long-awaited message. Her eyes brighten with satisfaction. After waiting so long, the news confirms that the awaited figure has finally arrived. The realization washes over her. Someone has appeared who might truly understand the burdens she carries.